complain. We can now complain together. Whine about our moms, bitch about our dads, blame them on the warmer weather. Bachelor's degrees that no one really needs.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Laura Bonilla. My pronouns are she, her. And right now I am representing the workers of Starbucks Workers United, specifically in the store in Forest Hill and Military, West Palm Beach.
Gotcha. So listeners have a better scope of the problems Starbucks workers are facing. Can you describe some of the unfair wages?
So, Starbucks has been having like a lot of issues over the past years. Mainly, and the biggest thing that we're fighting for is wages. Um, it's like inflation is hitting everywhere. Everything is getting like way more expensive. And South Florida specifically, I did the math, like has one of the most expensive like living situations, not only in the state, but I'd say I dare to say like in the whole country. Like if I'm not wrong, we spend like South Floridians, the average one spends from 60 to 90% of their whole monthly income just in housing. That's not even covering, like groceries, healthcare, education, debt, insurance, just housing, 60 to 90%. So cost of living is massive. Like insurance rates have increased almost like 30% since like 2020. And everything's so expensive. So main thing that we're fighting for would be an increase in wages. Second thing that we're fighting for is staffing and scheduling. We've been underscheduled and understaffed, which is an issue because when there's labor cuts, there's not a lot of labor that arrives to our store. We're running the floor with like less people that we actually need, and people are scrambling to do like the job of like 2 or 3 other people at the same time, again for the same pay. And on top of that, we have that schedule, like that shortage, but that also reflects in our schedules. It's very hard for Starbucks employees to get more than 40 hours a week. Sorry, to get 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get more than 30 hours a week. If we do over 25 hours, we're technically considered like full-time employees and we do get the benefits, but a lot of people are struggling with getting scheduled more than 25 because, Starbucks, like they're very aware of this. They schedule people like right before the threshold of hours that they need to, have in like their when they're doing the examination for like who applies for health benefits. So it's just unfair. Like I have so many friends who work at the company who like it's their living. It's how they pay for their expenses, and just because they miss like a small percentage of hours, they were like left out of their health insurance, which is just straight up unfair. It's not right. And again, like here in Florida, like we're getting paid 16 an hour, and if we're not even reaching 40 hours a week and we're getting paid 16 an hour, like that's just like the math isn't mathing, like we're not making enough to live in like one of the worst one of the most expensive counties in the state. It's frustrating. And one of the last things that not my store specifically, but like Starbucks Workers United as a whole is fighting for is like Starbucks resolving all the unfair labor practices that they have done, and either settle that in court or outside of court. For example, like Starbucks has fired a lot of employees, or a lot of employees under the excuse of union membership or like union support or striking. A lot of these workers had to be hired back and have to be compensated for their lost wages. As of right now, in the state of New York, Starbucks had to like it was a historic decision. It was like Starbucks had to pay $39 million back to in compensation to workers for illegal labor practices. Now, this was decided in a New York court in a single state, and right now, like there's a lot of like legal fights that are going behind the scenes that Workers United is handling for like a lot of injustices that they have done to their employees. So I say that that would be the main things that we're fighting for.
Understood, understood. No, yeah, I used to work at Panera, and also I
Mhm.
used to work at Target, and they also did that tactic where they'll hire a whole bunch of people and they'll keep everybody below 24 hours or below, you know,
Mhm.
just so they don't have to, you know, designate somebody as full time. So I totally understand where you're coming from. Um,
Mhm.
I saw also the union is fighting for more safe working conditions. Can you describe some of the unsafe working conditions?
So I do want to say that each store is like different. Like
Yeah.
we all have different needs. Like my store, our main focus is wages, scheduling, and labor hours. But a lot of stores do operate in areas that have like that are not the safest. And there's not a lot of securities to either the baristas or the ship supervisors on the floor. Either it's like a high incident area, like a downtown, or like we get um, sometimes people that are like causing commotions in the bathroom, fighting each other,
Mhm.
sometimes even doing drugs in the premise. And sometimes we have felt that our management is really not behind our backs in those kind of cases when we try to just like put ourselves and our personal safety in front of like the company. I'm gonna give an example. I was a ship supervisor like about 2 years ago in a store in Boynton Beach. Now during the morning rush, I there was a homeless person who's having uh, mental problems, and I
Mhm.
understand that, but also um, there's a limit where you're either like harassing my baristas or harassing the customers. I went to this person respectfully, saying that I need you to get out of the premises because you were caught stealing and you were like just shouting at both baristas and customers. And he just pushed me, attacked me, and just grabbed my phone and threw it.
Oh.
So he left immediately after. I, called the police. We issued a restraining order. But then when I went to my management to report the incident and to sort of like give a breakdown of everything that happened, I got in trouble because I did not follow standards like standard Starbucks policy and what to do when an incident like that happens. And I understand that there's a certain company policy that the company needs to do, but I find it absurd that they put their policies before the safeties of their baristas and their workers.
Mhm.
Um like the policy calls for like like leaving the person alone, making them like leave on their own, just um calling the police just in like a big escalation. And I'm sorry, like I that person was shouting at the customers, it was disrupting the floor, and I just had to act in the moment.
Yeah.
This Many incidents like this happen in like high incident stores. My store is in an area where we don't get a lot of these, but still, we don't want management to give us some sort of like leniency or like protection when this kind of things happen. So yeah, that would be in the category of like worker protection.
Yeah. Did the union contact you guys, or did you get in touch with them?
So we contacted the union. I feel like that's one of the things that I wanna, push the most in terms of like messaging for people, not only like Starbucks workers, but like workers in general who want to organize their job or want to organize their labor.
Mhm.
The unions are not gonna reach to you. Like the unions are not gonna do that. You gotta take the first step and reach a union representative or reach a person who can represent you.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are scared to make that first step. A lot of people have the misconception that, oh, I have got to have like a semblance of a committee or like some support in my job already. No, it can literally be a single person with the initiative to contact a union representative, and they're going to be there for you. They're going to connect you with the resources.
Mhm.
Um, and they do deliver results. Like if you and you can look up like what union or like what like sort of like division organizes like your certain industry, like for Starbucks and like certain certain like specific fast food chains is like Workers United. That's the one who handles their unions. But like different like janitors, teachers, they have different ones. There's like the AFL-CIO. There's a bunch. So just make sure
Yeah.
that you make your research. But even if you are not sure, just reach out to any union and just ask, hey, what industry represents me? And those people are very, very connected, so they will gladly redirect you to the people that can solve your needs.
Yeah. Are some of you or most of you that are striking this week in the union already, like Starbucks Workers United?
Yeah. So on November 20th, we had our union election, and it was a successful election. We won with a good majority. And so we are officially, part of the union. We're a unionized store. Whether, you voted yes or no, like you're still gonna be covered on all the rights that that gives you, and all the protections that that gives you as well. Right now, we have even more baristas who have walked out from the floor in the picket line, helping, cooking for us, helping us in the protest. So we've been having like a really, it's been a really successful picket line in my opinion,
Mhm.
and it's an unprecedented event just because we are the first like union store in Palm Beach County. It's a very conservative area. It's a very, um, like there's not a lot of labor movement in South Florida, at least not that I have noticed. So it's good that we have, and like that we're setting an example not only for like Starbucks stores, but like, like restaurants or like other places who wants to unionize. They're gonna go to a store. They're gonna be like, hey, they are union, and they have this and this and this and all these like rights. And they're going to be like, why don't we do that in like our workplace?
Mhm.
So yes, we're the first one in Palm Beach County. We are the fourth in South Florida, and we're the first one to join the unfair labor practices strike in South Florida. So that's also huge. That's not a thing that usually happens in South Florida.
Yeah. What sparked the initial walk-off last week?
Who was part?
Like what sparked it? Like what started it? The initial walk-off.
Um, so it was a lot of planning. So on the first day, a lot of people who were scheduled just did not show up to work. But by that time, management had already been giving notice that we were gonna do a walkout. Like your union representative is like legally required to um, tell management that you are gonna walk out. So they gotta be prepared for that. They
Mm-hmm.
were not. They were not prepared for that, and it was a very good first day because they were struggling.
Yeah.
They were running the floor with like just four people. Um, you know, scabs be scabbing. We really cannot do anything about like people who decide to work. That's their right. They have like the free will to do it. Um, but because so many of the employees were more like in favor of the union, they ended up closing the store very, very early, like very, very early.
Mm-hmm.
And that first day we had like an amazing like amazing results. We had actually we had two Congress candidates, Democratic Congress candidates, who joined us in the picket line on the first day. We had volunteers from the DSA Broward, and that was huge.
Mm-hmm.
For the congressman, it was like Oliver Larkin who's running for candidate of the 23rd Florida district for Congress, and Victoria Doyle, who's running for the 22nd district. And they're both very, very, very progressive candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're happy to have those, helping us because, we do have similar like ideals when it comes to like, minimum wage, working rights, um, I am going to say that I have been very, very disappointed in, the current leadership in the Democratic Party. But, here and there, we see candidates that are like rising up for like the actual needs of the workers, like Sorhan Mamdani. Like that would be like my point of comparison right now.
Yeah, yeah. What type of reaction have you had with customers driving in for their morning coffee? Like, do you find them to be more sympathetic or more angry or what?
I'm going to say that the reaction overall has been good, which I was very scared of because again, Florida, a little bit more conservative,
Mm-hmm.
but we've been having an insanely good reaction from both like the Hispanic community. A lot of like Hispanics who are like struggling with money right now. Like they feel like the economic pressure the same as we do. And we have gotten a lot of like support from them. Also, it's surprisingly like, of course, like progressive, like young people, we've been having like a really good reaction. A lot of people, we pick it in front of the drive-through, and a lot of people, they see us, we talk to them, or like they hear what we have to say, and they just drive away and they just go to like another coffee store, and that's been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
um and we've been having like a really good response, even, and I'm gonna say this, like even from like people who are clearly, like they lean conservative, they lean not. I'm not gonna say right wing. I'm just gonna say conservative.
Yeah.
Like Trump stickers, all that stuff, like MAGA stickers. It's. I think that this is a very important point that I want to make is that these people, they're also struggling. They're also um, reaping what they're they're also struggling, and they're facing the same consequences that everyone is in the current administration. Like inflation is so bad, cost of living, everyone is feeling so much pressure and going through so difficult times, even like middle class people, I
Mm-hmm.
feel. So when these people take a minute to listen to us, they find themselves agreeing with a lot of what we have to say, and being very supportive. Um, I will say, and I stand by this, that even though in the media we don't see a lot of like labor support, and we don't see a lot of like workers' right, or like we don't see a lot of like politicians running on workers' right and affordability, it is a popular political belief among like the majority of the population. Like most of the population, left, right, like we support more workers, right, we support like better wages, better pay, better healthcare, all that. Like those are insanely popular, um they're insanely popular policies that we don't see a lot of the media, but they are you know below the media. Like they're very, very popular with the population.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I agree. Um, what about management and corporate? What has their reaction been to the strike?
So very passive aggressive. And I feel like their reaction has been, you know, disorganized. They don't have any structure at all, which I'm gonna say I absolutely love. So um, stores in the northern states have really good union busting tactics. Like they go beast mode when it comes to like union busting, and just putting pressure on the baristas, making like illegal moves like firing people, cutting hours. In the south, we have because there's not a lot of like labor movement. The management down here, they were absolutely not prepared for for like what was happening. I remember that management was there the day of the election, and when they officially counted the votes and it resulted that we were going to join the union, like in their faces I could see that they were like genuinely and like surprised. Like they fully expected that we were going to lose that election. They had no idea that something like this could happen at the store at their district. And and I'm sure they were mad because they're like their managers, like corporate, are gonna be are gonna put a lot of pressure from them. That's literally their job to union bust. um and probably they're gonna be going to like other stores. Probably I think they're gonna get a little bit more serious because we didn't really got a lot of pushback in our store. But now that we're organizing and we're actually going canvassing, talking to the baristas in this other stores, I feel like they're going to get a little bit more serious. And, we're prepared for the fight. We're prepared to, counter like all the arguments. But for now, they're very disorganized. And I mean, they have still engaged in like a couple of union busting tactics. An example that I am going to say that has really, like a low blow. So our previous manager, she was fired, I'm gonna say literally like 5 days before our union election. She had been a manager, she had been a worker at Starbucks for 17 years. And she had managed that store for about 5 years. She's a mother of 4 kids. And even though like she was our manager and her job is being anti-union, she was very lenient with us. She was like in my job, like in my job, I don't agree with you guys, and I have to stop you guys, but I'm gonna let you guys do this thing that you think it's right. She was putting low resistance. We were very excited to work with this manager. Like she was a great person. But something like horrible that happened is that management, fired her literally 5 days before the election. Why did they do this? Why did they do this? They did this because a lot of the people who were like either neutral or like who opposed, the union membership were really close to this manager. They had like a lot of like appreciation and like emotional attachment. So it was a very obvious attack from corporate to fire a manager that people like and put the blame on the workers who are unionizing and organizing. Now that tactic didn't end up working because we won the election. But it is very sad that now it's very sad that you can work 17 years at a company, give your all, and just out of nowhere, like you're fired. You have no legal protections, you have no security at all, and that's what actually we're fighting for here in the union. We're fighting so that you cannot just be like fired for any reason without notice. It's those things that we see happening that we don't want to get repeated.
No, yeah, I'm glad you touched on the tactics of the management, because I was going to ask you about that. So I heard scab labor was brought in to try to reopen the stores. I want you to tell me how that went, but for listeners who never heard of the term scab, I'm gonna give them the definition. It's a term for a worker who undermines a labor strike by crossing a picket line, refusing the strike, or taking the job of a striking worker, essentially acting as a strike breaker for the employer, which weakens the union's collective bargaining power. So I just wanted to say that. So tell me how that went, like with the scab labor being brought in.
So I feel like our store has a couple of scabs. They do have enough people to keep the store operating in the morning hours, at least for like 4 or 5 hours during like rush time. They do seem like they're struggling, and they do seem like they're tired, because they're the ones who are managing their store like almost every single day. We've seen a lot of like management like come to the store and trying to help them with drinks. and that's honestly a thing that I'm glad is happening, because they are realizing their mistake, that because they fire a previous manager, now like regional managers have to come back to our store to make drinks instead of focusing on their job of like supervising the several stores that they supervise. So
Mm-hmm.
they're getting a little bit of what they asked for, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
um and
I can still hear you, by the way. I just can't see
oh,
you.
okay, gotcha. My computer does that sometimes. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
They're getting what they asked for, basically. We do have a lot of scabs, but I will say that we have gotten, um, right now, two scab workers to abandon their shifts and join us at the picket line. And that it has been great. The response has been great. We, received them with open arms, with an applause, and, they are willing to give their full support. Another union busting tactic that the company like did is that right before the election, they hired like, you know, I feel like it was like 5 or 6 new people.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these were high schoolers or minors, people who do not have a lot of seriousness in the job, who they think they could manipulate easily to,
Yeah.
either like be against the union, or just like scab and not listen to the union workers.
Yeah.
Um, it has not been working out for them, because a lot of those new hires have joined us in the picket line, thankfully. And yeah, I mean, they are struggling finding coverage for like the shifts in their stores. Also, because a lot of baristas in the surrounding areas and in the surrounding stores are very supportive of our decision to unionize, and they're willingly not picking up shifts that are offered at our location.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, that's good to hear. No, yeah, I was gonna ask you if these were new hires or they were workers brought in from other stores, which you said that some of them were in both occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then what were some of their reactions in terms of the people who decided to stay on shift to the strike? I know that two of them, switched sides, which is really good, but what are some other reactions you're getting?
So some of the reactions were definitely them being surprised, because they didn't know about the strike, and also being upset, which is something that I understand. I understand that people are upset that, on a specific day, people did not show up to their job. But we've been organizing our store for what is going to be, like 4 or 5 months at this point. And by this point, they do understand, even though they don't agree, they do understand that we're doing this for the better good. And, the same way that we let them stay and scabbing, and that's their decision, they got to respect our right to fight for better wages, to picket, and to like organize. And part of organizing is, hitting the business where it hurts them the most. And unfortunately, one of the tactics that we use is a surprise tactic, like the first day where there's a full day of people scheduled, majority of people doesn't show up. Of course that's gonna upset people.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be there's gonna make it a little bit hard. But they also got to understand that after that happens, they have full communication of what's happening, with everyone in the store, not only like union supporters, like also non-union supporters. Like we all now have the same rights. We have been in communication with them about like your rights, your protections, about the union fund that Workers United is providing us, so that they realize that they would not be losing, wages while they are on strike. Like we do have a fund that's covering us. And just the fact that, it's we're doing this for a better good. I
Mm-hmm.
do I do understand the argument of some scabs. I can understand it, especially from like shift supervisors who get paid they get paid more than baristas. um Even if they come walk out with us, and they strike because they have a higher pay grade, they would be making way less during the weeks of the strike. I
Mhm.
understand that. I get that. I respect it. They got bills to pay, but guess what? I also have bills to pay. Everyone striking also has bills to pay. It's a privilege that we are doing this, and it's a sacrifice that some of us are willing to take. And it's not even a big sacrifice. The union fund is very decent. I feel like it's almost like the same as how much you're getting paid weekly as Starbucks.
Mm.
So it's not even like a huge sacrifice, but it's an effort that we are all doing for the better good. And some people want to understand that, some people don't. We're there. I mean, you know, there's a set of people that we absolutely know that they're not going to change their mind no matter what happens. And there's a couple baristas who we're still in talks to, who we are trying to convince to walk out. Just for now, we had just been successful with two of the baristas.
Yeah. Okay, okay. So for anybody listening, how can people help you guys out?
So right now, well, what's today? Today is the 10th of December. On the 13th, on Saturday 13th, we're gonna have an all-out rally at 2 p.m. Um, at our store. You can find all the information for this in our Instagram page. Is SBWU PBC, Starbucks Workers United West, Palm Beach County. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Over there you can find all the information with the rally. We're gonna have the biggest picket line that we've had. It's gonna be a big demonstration. We're gonna be in front of like Forest Hill Boulevard in West Palm Beach. Making sure that the media knows about it. Like we're gonna have again like some politicians. We're gonna have political organizations. We're gonna have um, a lot of like media support and like media coverage so that everyone can like locals or like South Floridians can see that this is a thing that is actually happening, and when they see it they know that they can do it as well.
Mhm.
So I mean that there's that, attending the rally on Saturday. We're also picketing every single day indefinitely. The only days that we're not picketing is Monday and Tuesday, but from Wednesday to Sunday, we are there every single morning. Usually the schedule is from 7 a.m. to either 2 or 6 p.m. Depends on the weather and depends on the day. I'd say go to the Instagram and just check the updates on like the schedule of that day, because I update it daily. I manage the Instagram, and I just want people to make sure that if they want to go and donate some water, some snacks, or like a lunch or something, like they're more than invited. Just make sure that you check the hours that you're going, so that you don't end up going when we already like wrapped up.
Mhm.
So yeah, people can support us, again, with some food, with some water, volunteering. We are gonna need volunteers on Saturday, most definitely.
Mhm.
So if anyone wants to would like to volunteer for that, they can contact me at the same Instagram page. I'm the admin, or they can just email me at sbwupbc@gmail.com. Same at as the Instagram. And last but not least, we also have a lost wages fund.
Okay.
So I want to be, 100% transparent. Like there is a union fund that Workers United provides us for lost wages. Now this fund is, it's it's the main thing that we're gonna use to make up our income while the strike lasts. We get
Mhm.
it weekly. and it really helps a lot. And it's really like a huge support from like Workers United themselves. But we also decided to launch a specific to this store like fund, just because Workers United is really helpful with our wages, but we also need to pay for food. We need to pay for equipment. We need to pay for gas, for flyers, for materials, and quite honestly, it's also for like some lost wages. This is some effort that we're doing, and sometimes we're staying 5 hours a day in the picket line. Sometimes we're staying 8 hours a day in the picket line. So a lot of the work is paid, but a lot of the work is also volunteer work. So we invite people, if they want to go to the GoFundMe link that is on the Instagram page and support us. Again, that's only if they want. And that strike would be, beneficial for like, organizing the rally, organizing, like buying the materials, and just as an extra income for the baristas. Because it is a little bit tough. Like it's everything is very expensive right now. And even with the union fund, like we're still, just cutting on costs, I'd say. So yeah, I mean, so I invite people to, donate to the story specific strike fund. Again, it's in the Instagram story. Or if you want to donate to the general strike fund, the one that funds like every single store that's unionized and going on strike in the country, you're also welcome to do that. That would be through the Workers United website.
Perfect. Well, Laura, I appreciate you talking with me. I'm gonna try to get this out by tomorrow so that people hear it before Saturday,
Okay.
Hopefully somebody hears it and wants to go and, volunteer and help you guys out. And I'll try to make it out as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like if you go, just let me know. And everyone who listens to this want to volunteer, again, you guys can contact me. And thank you again for the space, for the invitation, and for letting me share like all this information with you. I really appreciate it.
Telling all your buddies that this wasn't what you studied, but you see them all at work tomorrow. If you're looking for a home, go and dig a hole, dig it deep with good potential. Tiger King was crazy, I always thought that I was lazy till I found out that I was essential. I like to complain, you like to complain, we can all complain as one. We can all agree nothing's what it seems. Sit back and watch the life run. Work another gig, do your best to grin and bear it. Sure, it ain't that perfect, but I reckon that it's worth it. Life's a nice thing to inherit. It's good to let it out, give a little pout. Feels alright to pass some blame. It wasn't me or you, they just told us what to do, and the nation up and went and changed. I like to complain, you like to complain, we can all complain as one. We can all agree nothing's as it seems. Sit back and watch the lights run. complain. You like to complain. Could it be a generational slogan? A phone's a 2 months' wage made by child slaves. Is it worth it just to watch Joe